Welcome to a Pound of Flesh, a Flesh and Blood trading card podcast. On this podcast, I discuss with a guest one specific question. We take no more than 60 minutes to discuss that topic. And my name, of course, is Scowling. Today's guest is Mara Faris. And Mara, you probably know her from her signature hero, Dromai. Furthermore, when we just look at the competitive accolades that she has to her name, she came in second at the Pro Tour Baltimore. She's also the winner of the Battle Hardened Washington and has over 8 other top 8 results in Battle Hard. She also works on the creative side of Flesh and Blood, and under the name Blackwing Studio, she creates altars and tokens. They look magnificent, and I definitely recommend you go look up her work. With that out of the way, let me welcome Mara to the pod today. Mara, how are you doing today?
Doing good. A little exhausted. We were talking about before we went on the air. I've been running about ragged. We're as of time of recording, we are right at the start of ProQuest season. So I've been getting geared up for ProQuest, and then we go straight from ProQuest right into the World Championships. So I've been running, getting everything ready for that too. But it's a great time to be in Flesh and Blood. I love this season. I love this that energy right before these big events is just so much fun to me. I love just having 1,000 things to do and test and work on. It's what I live for.
I feel like sometimes it can get a bit much or feel like a bit much over the course of the year, but then when the seasons gear up and when you're getting your hands in there and you start playing the tournaments, it's really exciting.
Yeah, there's really nothing like these big Flesh and Blood tournaments. I will say for any of your listeners that have never been to a large Flesh and Blood tournament, I encourage everyone, go to these big events. There's always things for everyone. You don't have to be qualified for the Pro Tour. You don't have to be qualified for World. There's callings, there's battle hardens, there's tons of side events and extra little events and things. And just like the people that you'll meet and the games you'll get to play are unlike anything else in the world. I strongly recommend anyone, if you ever get the chance to go to a Pro Tour or World Championship, take the time and go. It's so worth it.
I couldn't agree more. Well, time is short, so let's dive right into it. If you had to give any Flesh and Blood player one tip, what they should do to get better at the game, what would that be?
I think for me, the thing that is more important than anything else in this game is the mental approach to the game. And especially if you are looking to improve at the game of Flesh and Blood, I see so many people, and especially like people that are kind of maybe newer to Flesh and Blood, but not necessarily newer to card games or to these kind of events in general. I see people get very hooked on their wins and their losses. I see players get really obsessed with like, oh, I won these games and that means I'm really awesome, or I lost these games and I'm terrible and everything is worthless. And they get really bent, like they really let themselves be defined by whether they won an event or they lost an event. And I think that mindset doesn't help you become a better player. I think if you're so focused on the result of a single game, then you take your wins and go, oh, I won, therefore I played perfectly. I don't need to learn anything from this game. And I think you miss out on a lot of learning opportunities in those games. And then at the same time, you get your losses and you go, oh, well, I just suck, I guess. Or some people are like, oh, well, I guess my opponent just got lucky. And they don't take the time to kind of evaluate, okay, what can I take away from these games? Something that I always try to do with every game that I play, and particularly like tournament games, is try not to focus on like, did I win or did I lose? Because in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. Like, whether you won this one game, 2 years from now, no one's going to remember. Even like these bigger games, when you start talking at like playing at the higher level, these single games in the long run don't matter nearly as much as the ability to go, okay, I learned from this game. I took something away from this, and it's something that I can bring with me to my next game. If you can bring one piece of every game away from a match to your next game, and you keep doing that over and over and over, I think is the best way to just gradually improve and steadily see growth. And I think that's really, really important rather than just fixating on single game.
You're absolutely right that having that attitude does help a lot move somebody forward. On the other hand, I do see that if, winning games, losing games, when you lose a game, it can be quite hard to take on that perspective. You just spent 45 minutes battling, maybe for your tournament life. It's a question if you're going to make the money at a big tournament, or you're going to make top 8, or you're going to make top 2, or maybe just the best record you've ever had, or maybe not having a losing record. How do you refocus that mindset into what you're talking about?
It's not an easy thing to do. It is absolutely an easier thing to sit here and talk about how to do this than it is to actually put it in practice. Like I say, I think one of the biggest things to try to focus on is that long view of continued growth. I think being able to look and say, okay, even if in the moment this game feels like it's important and feels like, oh, I lost this game, it still feels like I think it's still very important to always be able to say, okay, even if I felt like this game was important, this game is not as important as the next time I'm going to be in the same position. Okay, I was playing for the top 8 of my Pro Quest, and I lost my win in, and that sucked, and that feels bad. But if I can still take something from that and go, okay, but I want to learn something from this game, so that the next time I am playing for the top 8 of my Pro Quest, I can think back to this game and remember, oh, I remember I made a mistake here this time, or I didn't play around this, attack reaction my opponent might have had. And then the next time you're in that same situation, now you're a little bit better and you're a little bit more likely to find the correct line and make the right play. And so that the next time you're in that situation, you can still come out ahead. I think I kind of get a very deep insight into this. I have played a single game of Flesh and Blood for $30,000 and lost that game. And it was still one of the best games of my life. Like, I still can look back at that game and go, okay, I learned this and I learned that. And there are so many things that I took away from that particular game. Like, I do kind of feel like it's funny. I laugh about it. But once you play for that amount of money, it helps kind of reframe everything else. Once you lose $30,000 on a card game, like losing out on a Pro Quest top 8, just like, it's kind of irrelevant. It kind of helps you reframe things a little bit. I know not everybody's going to be in that exact situation. I do think, being able to kind of take a step back and say, yeah, I lost this game, but I'm still taking away something more important than this one-time win. And that's this thing that I can carry with me for every game in the future.
Do you feel like this mindset is something that you gained in that? And I'm thinking you're probably talking about the Pro Tour final in Baltimore specifically. Mm-hmm. Is that where that mindset kind of clicked for you, or was it at an earlier point where you were able to change on how you approach the mental game?
I think it's been a progressive learning experience for me. And I think it probably will be for everyone. Like I said a little bit earlier, I don't think it's the kind of thing that you can just throw a switch and just suddenly be like, okay, I'm gonna no longer care about this, and I'm gonna just start just only focusing on the future. And I think it's a progress. It's every game you play, you kind of try and disconnect just a little bit more. And I do think the more games you play where you can kind of start to see the results of that too, it kind of helps to where, when you've only been playing the game for a couple of months, you only have maybe a handful of games. So like each one of those games feels important because there's not that many of them. I've been playing this game, at the competitive level since 2022 now. This is about a little over 3 years. I've got a lot of competitive games under my belt, And so I think once you kind of get a little bit more, just more games played, I think each like it's easier to look back and say, oh, that time when I lost out on a top 8, I barely remember that game now, but the lessons I learned from those games, I still remember. I like to say, I think I've got 8 or 9 battle hardened top 8s. I've got a Pro Tour top 8. I've got several other pretty reasonably big accolades. I've had just as many misses. I've had so many, bubble out of cash or bubble out of top 8 or, just barely missing, where I want to be. And I don't remember half of them. Like, even the top 8s, like at this point, like I have a hard time even remembering all the top 8 games in like that granular detail, but I absolutely remember all the little mistakes. I remember exactly how I sideboarded in my Pro Tour Finals game, and I made some mistakes in my sideboarding, and I absolutely remember that. I know, how to play into fatigue better because of those games. And every time I play into a fatigue match, I can think back to those lessons I learned, and those things that stick with me so much more than just the single games that I won or the single games that I lost.
I think I can certainly learn from what you're saying, because I do struggle with this myself. I take low stake games way too serious. So I'm going to try and take notes of this and get better at this. So for somebody like me who may struggle with this, do you have a tip on how we can work on improving this?
So, yeah, and again, I do think this is hard. I think, again, I don't want to sit here and say, oh, this is easy. You just do like I do, and then you'll be awesome, and everything is going to be cake. Like, I absolutely don't want to sit here and make it sound like this is just the easiest thing in the world. Like, most people don't do it because it's hard.
Yeah.
It is, and it's a process. It's never going to be a thing that you just decide to do one day and snap and it's amazing. I think the thing that's always kind of helped me is I feel like I want to just, anytime I play a game, I want to find like one thing I can take away from that game. Sometimes it's a really big thing. Sometimes it's a little tiny thing. Sometimes it's just like, oh, I pitched this card and I could have pitched that card instead, and I still won the game anyway, and it was fine. Like, technically, if they had this little tiny thing that I could have played around, then I could have been in trouble. So like, just like even finding like single little things, I think help when, like, especially when you take a loss, then you can go, man, that loss feels bad, but at least I got something. Because I think it sucks when you walk away with nothing. When you lose a game and you're like, man, I didn't win, I didn't get any prizes, I didn't get any accolades, I got nothing. And I think that's a big part of like where you get this feel bad. But if you can say, yeah, I didn't, but I got something that I can take with me. I got a piece of knowledge or a piece of information that I'm going to remember. And I think that helps a ton. There's something else that I do that, it's funny because I was literally just talking to my patrons about this like 10 minutes before we started recording. This is a really kind of small thing, but something that I really like doing and has really helped me. I don't track my win-loss record in tournament. Like, I mean, obviously you'll kind of have an idea, like you're like, oh, I've been winning a bunch or I've been losing a bunch. But I try not to, like, I think most people sit down at the end of a game and go, okay, I won that game, now I'm 4-2. Okay, I lost that game, now I'm 4-3. I try not to actually think about those numbers like at all. I sit down, I play a game of cards. I sit down, I play another game of cards. I sit down, I play another game of cards. And then I'm just aware that eventually they're going to tell me there are no more games of cards. And then somebody at the end of that is going to tell me a number. And that number is where I ended up. And it's a small thing. And it feels weird the first couple of times you do it, because like you're just so used to like, oh, I'm playing the tournaments, I want to track how good I'm doing. But if you just like make a conscious effort to not think about it, then it helps a little more. Because like I feel like when you're in those situations where you're like, oh, I'm X-2, I'm on the bubble for top 8, and I've got to win or worse, oh, I have to win my next 2 games. Because as soon as you start saying like, oh, I've got to win my next 2 games, well, now you're no longer thinking about this game, you're thinking about the game after this one. Or like,
Yeah.
oh, I lost my last game and now that put me in a bad position. Now you're thinking about the previous game. And I think if you can just sort of disconnect from that a little bit and just focus on the game you're playing, play that one game, and then you go play another one game, and then you play another one game, I think it helps kind of keep you a little bit more grounded and keeps you from focusing so much on like all the little like losses and wins and things like that.
A fantastic way of framing it, and great advice for everyone. Sadly, we're out of time already. Thank you very much for coming on. Before we do close the pop for today, any shout outs or anything else you would like to mention?
Thank you for having me. This has been a delight. I think this short form podcast thing is a really cool idea. I'm really excited to see this kind of develop a little bit more. Shout out to my patrons. I have an amazing Patreon. If anyone is interested, I do cool original art, altars, and tokens. I've actually got these Seismic Surge tokens that are getting mailed out this month to all the patrons.
Awesome.
I do also write some very, very detailed Flesh and Blood guides. I have 60-page guides right now for Dromai, Vinset, Dash.io, and I just posted a 60-page deep dive on Fang, Drakai Blades, about a week ago. That just went up on the Patreon as well. So yeah, if anyone is looking for art, altars, or just really in-depth Flesh and Blood content, we've also got a patron Discord that is very active and has some really talented people in it too.
Well, once again, thank you very much for coming on, Mara.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and good luck to all the viewers out there in your own games.